onwards, where we are very stripy today. Anyway, we need to meet up with Lord Yargo. We did obtain the Ring of Light, after all. So he's going to instruct us where to go next. We have the Ring of Fire and the Ring of Stone to get. There's actually a bit of setup that you have to go through before you can continue onward, so let's get that done. Also some side activities. We got a few quests to deal with. And if you recall, we met with a band of actors who had a mishap in the palace. So we need to seek out the Master of Revels to see if we can get permission for them to return. And that fella is lurking in the darkness. We'd like to discuss Torval's players, my good sir. I'm sure they didn't mean for all that to happen, fella. Honestly, what was they doing for that to all happen? Oh, there is a way. Alright then. What do they have to do, sir? Vrindle. I believe that's a tower that Prince Yon fell from. 6 Stonefire lanterns. Okay, Keys, the lantern maker, can be found in the marketplace. We'll meet him on the way out. Alright. So, according to the Master of Revels, they can be allowed back as long as we get him 6 Stonefire lanterns. Well, we'll see Keys, the lantern maker, on our way out. Let's meet with Yargo anyway. So, let's see where our next itinerary is. Also, Rosalind has a bone to pick. Ooh. Yes, we found it in the catacombs. So it seems that the ongoing threat with Maraud and his forces has, well, encouraged the royal family to take note of the Summoner and the Summoner's prophecy. I'm assuming Yargo had a word with the King and Queen about Joseph. And apparently, well, he seeks an audience with us. We're going to get to meet the King and Queen. Yes, they're back, alive and well. Keep pots and pans at arm's length, everyone. Yes, as we've established, Rosalind is Yargo's daughter, and in hopes to find the summoners, he actually abandoned Rosalind's mother to seek out the summoner due to Maraud's uprising. Evidently, that caused Rosalind's mother to die. And yes, you can guess that Rosalind's not a happy camper. Her anger is justified. It's fully justified. Sure, yeah, lead on, dear Yargo. Admittedly, Yargo's actions were... you could argue that they're also justified. He learned of the Summoners and the Jade Temple's prophecy. And when he heard about Maraud, well, usurping the throne, that made him go on a journey to look for them. So it's for a good cause. Yes, Your Majesty. Indeed, Your Majesty. A 100 Knights to our cause? That'd be a bit excessive, Your Grace. Instead, they're gonna have a warrior from their army by the name of Jakar to join us. Now, there's a name that should be familiar.
Jakar, you may enter. Jakar, this is Joseph of Masad, born with the mark of the Summoner. You have been chosen to help him fulfill his destiny and defeat the Emperor, Murad.
Your Majesty, from me you demand the impossible. I'm needed to fight the Orinians. I came to Lenel by your command, but I must now return to battle.
How dare you speak to your king with such impudence? If I say you shall die 1,000 deaths for this man, then you shall die 1,000 deaths. Are you so full of pride that you believe the fate of the Medivh army rests on your sword?
Forgive me, Your Majesty, but I know this boy is Joseph of Saran. His gift destroyed my village and massacred my family 9 years ago.
What are you saying?
All know the story of the demon of Saran. And here is the boy who called that demon forth. Nothing remains of our village, not a stone left standing. Joseph could not control his power and the people of Saran perished.
If this is true, Iago, why were we not informed?
Your Majesty, Jakar's account is true. As a child, Joseph lacked the strength to control the beings he summoned, and thus Saran was destroyed. But Joseph is older now and prepared to master his power.
Nevertheless, it is not a soldier's place to question the wishes of his king. Though your desire for revenge may be honorable, you must forego vengeance for the greater good of our kingdom. If you are a true subject of the King of Medivh, you have no choice in the matter.
Where have I heard that before?
Forgive my impudence, Your Majesty. Your will shall be done.
Yes, it shall. Though we find this news most disturbing. I pray you are right, Iago. For the sake of us all.
Joseph will not fail you, Your Majesty.
Well, that went just as well as I imagined it would. Jakar, our final party member, joins us in our adventure in the hopes of defeating Emperor Murad. And he is none too thrilled about it, as expected. Also, these boots, I need to change those. Also, for a soldier of the King's army, a powerful warrior, he is very poorly under-equipped. We can give him an immediate upgrade, however. Maybe the Blessed coat? I'll probably change that out, though. Fleece, he could do the speed as well. Only level 8, not... yeah, so Jakar will be our heavy hitter, our tanky character. I will need to get these levels equalised a bit. No, Jakar joins us. In fact, if it's not been mentioned already, Joseph and Jakar's history actually go way back. Back into their childhood, actually. They're childhood friends. Who grew up together in the same village of Saran. Although, due to raiders attack him, and Joseph being a bit overconfident in his ability to summon, well, I'm sure you know how the rest of that story goes. Anyway, for us to progress, we're going to need to speak to the Prince and the Queen here. It's very important that you do. And immediately the Prince talks about Emperor Murad. There are 4 riders too. And how Murad is a practitioner of the Nuvasarum law. A kind of black magic, or black arts if you will, who grows strength from death and destruction. Yes, we did hear from Rosalind about the Kasani knowing the whereabouts of the rings. Yeah, that also Dana, that'd be the High Priestess of the Kasani. Yeah, Prince Ornhan was a monk of Lina, just like Iago. At some point he left. Assuming he would have sworn an oath, which means he cannot return to Lina. And yes, he does guide us towards Sunavar, the Mountain of the Wise, where the Kasani live. However, the Kasani are not very welcoming when it comes to visitors these days. So he suggests that to ensure that we get through the gates, to present a relic to them in the form of the Blade of Tarun, which we can get from the Hierophant. So be sure to pay a visit to the temple before you leave. Yeah, apparently his dagger being a gift from the Altidana marked friendship between the Kasani and the Sedani. At some point, relationships between the two races diminished, unfortunately. We are the Summoner, however, the Child of Prophecy. Also, notice he's got the Sword of Spirits on him. And the Queen has the Icy Dagger. I wonder if that's symbolic, fire and ice. We get our mention of Kamos here, which used to be a prosperous realm. I believe 1,000 years ago was its last, when it was last a civilization, by priest King Armun, who apparently was one of the first summoners. Well, at least the Queen suggests that he was the first summoner. In the mood to question that, however. It was 1,000 years ago, but I'm sure the summoners have been around possibly a bit longer than that. Anyway, Kamos apparently had problems with a river god, who needed sacrifices. I never understood gods that need sacrifices. Well, anyway, the Queen does suggest that if we are to find a Kamos, we need to get a map for it. And of all people the Queen suggests we get a map from, it's Tancred, the Prince of Beggars and King of Thieves, or Fleas, if you will. He is a King of Thieves, honestly, but yeah, the Queen advising us to seek out a crime lord in Lanel. You know, there's some things probably better left unanswered. Anyway, yeah, be sure to speak to those before you depart. You will need to in order to progress. Also, this fella here, Wolf Cub. Ooh, very nice. Wolves are pretty. Yeah, they're very pretty. They're very nice. I don't know why are wolves so villainized by people? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, this fellow gives us a bit of insight on Prince Ornahand, and how people believe that he's also a practitioner of the Nuvisarum law, just like Murad. There is no proof, however, for this, but well, a lot of people have good reasons to suspect he is a practitioner of Nuvisarum law. Vorno Medivh, we've come across this term before. I believe we're in 500 and something Vorno Medivh, the time period where this takes place in. So this is about 400 years ago. Yeah, the Duke of Tormund apparently is not a big fan of Prince Ornahand, and I don't blame him. Not many people are, to tell the truth. Yeah, just a bit of lore dump there. The fella on the other side is the same fella we spoke to during our first visit to the palace, so nothing new from him. He just talks about how the heir to there's no true heir to the throne with all the princes dead. Anyway, I believe no, there is stuff in the palace we need to do. Let me just quickly run through it. There are new items. Rosalind, please. There are new items to pick up. And lo and behold,
It's locked.
you will find that pretty much every door in the palace has been fitted with a lock. I wonder why.
Success.
I shall not blame Fliers for this. Joseph, please.
It's locked.
Yep, they're all locked.
Success.
Honestly, they probably should have fitted locks on the doors probably a bit sooner. Because how dare you stop Fliers from going wherever the fuck she wants? To tell the truth, nothing too interesting to be found. Healing Draught, very nice. I figure I'll show it off. This is 100% Let's Play after all. Which I'm being incredibly slow about. Sorry folks. My humblest apologies for being not particularly fast at doing Let's Plays. There'll be a few items up here too. Possibly nothing in that room. Yargo chambers, I believe they're clear. Well, we shouldn't really steal from Yargo, should we? He is our mentor. Prince Sornhand's chambers, unfortunately, cannot be opened. There are items in there, however. Because in Volition's infinite wisdom, they decided to put items in a room you cannot actually enter. Thankfully, Summoner has the power to get items from other sides of walls.
It's locked.
The King's Chambers, however,
Success.
can be entered. Now, a bit of citation needed here. I'm pretty sure in the PS2 version you could not pick the King's Door. It is actually it is like Sornhand's chambers that you can actually pick. But yeah, again, citation needed. I can't fully remember. I haven't played the PlayStation 2 version for a very long time, actually.
It's locked. Success.
And I believe they double lock their doors here. When one lock wasn't enough. Garnet though, that's nice. Yeah, we're going to have to do a bit of shopping on our way out as well. Jakar could definitely do with some new gear. It just makes no sense how such a great warrior in their army, not very well equipped. Anyway, I'm going to meet you back up at the temple. There's going to be a lot of travelling back and forth between places. Places you've already seen before, so we'll do a bit of trimming here. I won't drag this on. Meet you back at the temple. I'm back in the temple. There's actually two things we've got to do here. First things first, the Blade of Tarun, so we can gain access to Sanavar. Be sure to do this before you leave. Yeah, so we seek the Blade of Tarun. Indeed we are. And that's all we need to do there. The second thing we need to do is, back on Lona, we got a quest from a sister. Actually, no, I had a little bit of a hiccup there. We already done that quest. Anyway, I'm going to meet you back in the old city. We need to get that map, apparently from Tancred. So, yeah, I'll meet you back down there. It's a long journey. Actually, I'm going to quickly bring you back. I do want to get some more equipment for Jakar, so... and new boots for Joseph. We really need to get new boots. As I said, I'm not a fan of these reinforced boots. So, can I see your wares, fella? Let's see. I'll probably get some iron gauntlets for him. Oh, they're specialised for Jakar. So is that, but it's only 9 protection. Not really worth it. Leather jerkin. What else? By the way, I didn't have a look at that blade, did I? Very nice. I wish you could use that, actually, but unfortunately it's not usable. Anyway, let's do some equipping here. We'll get you some boots and gloves in a bit, Jakar. It would be nice if he is equipped with something extra. Well, it's no problem for us anyway. Now, before we make our trip to the old city to get the map, Mr. Keys, the lantern maker, let's have a word with him first, shall we? So we need 6 stone fire lanterns. Of course there's a problem. Gargle blood. And they could be found in a Kamos. Well, we'll be making a trip to a Kamos, so... yeah, we'll see if we can squeeze blood from stone. Honestly, I wonder if that's a joke they're trying to make there. Gargles dropping blood. Anyway, we need 6 of those, so... best to pick that up before we go to Kamos. So we can get some more gear from this fella over here. I know I say this every time, but... whoever's playing that flute... nice job. Nice work. Oh, get them god-awful boots away from my face, please. Ugh. We'll take some of those, fella. Jar, take them fucking boots off. That's better. That's looking much more Jakar, ain't it? Get them boots off my hand, sir, please. Yeah, they look way too science fiction-y for me. They just don't look like they belong in Summoner. Anyway, meet you when we go get that map from Tancred.
It's locked.
Yes. Fleers, could you do the honours? We need the key to Tancred's house, fella. Do you not know who you're talking to, fella? Thank you very much. Joseph, if you would. Let's actually have a look at Tancred's key. Oh, he's got a nice golden key. Very nice. Not pointy either. Probably the one of the not. I do like old games with their quirky designs. And that key is pretty much a quirky design. Also, the atmosphere in this place is a bit dreary, shall we say. Yes, I'm looking to unload. What you got, sir? Now, Gus here sells some pretty interesting items. We can see the Assassin's Crossbow and the Gutting Dirk here. Definitely taking the spotlight. Very pricey too. We cannot afford them yet. Dirk. With a little symbol on it. Very nice. Very stylish. Now, I will purchase them. Obviously, I cannot yet, because I haven't got the gold. And unfortunately, cannot examine items while they're in the shop inventory. The Gutting Dirk is actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good item. It's none too shabby. I would recommend it. It is a bit overpriced, but honestly, if you've got the gold to spend, not a bad one to obtain. The Assassin's Crossbow, on the other hand, that kind of looks like a pickaxe for some reason. I honestly would not recommend Assassin's Crossbow. Unless you're doing item collecting, of course. I won't say anything until we actually purchase the items, but it's a glorified crossbow. You'll see why soon enough. Let's do some selling. Long swords. We can get better. Quilted robe, or quality robe as I used to call them. We can do better. It is blessed. I will keep it. I'll keep the blinding bucker as well. Why not? And I'll keep the garnet. I can't bring myself around to selling gemstones. Especially not the garnet. We shall though. I'll keep one of them on me. Yeah, we'll have a look at what he's all about. And there'd be an item in the crate here. Yes, that's Tancred in the bed there. Not looking incredibly healthy. Let's find out why. Tail of the Rokul. I do like tails, but this is something a bit different. It's actually a plant. And there's no cure for it either. I hope her dogs look fine. I hope they're really nice looking dogs. Like German Shepherds or Huskies. So to summarise, an Iranian lady, a woman in white, just creeped into Tancred's window and poisoned him with an incurable poison. Now, this woman in white, I've actually seen her before. Apparently goes by the name Aoki, or Aochi, if you want to pronounce in the Chinese fashion. She is whispering something in the king's ear, which at this point we don't know what she is talking about, what she would have whispered. The leader of the Jade Temple. The same Jade Temple where the Summoner's Prophecy came from. Well, maybe we'll learn more about that later on. You wouldn't happen to have a map to Kamos Swamp by any chance? Yeah, of course you don't. Alright, she guides us towards the apothecary. Now, you cannot go directly to the apothecary. You do need to speak to the lady here. And she'll direct you towards him. But they, of course, don't have the map. Again, why the Queen thought that Tancred would have the map? Well, it's beyond me. Also, the River of Bones. I wonder where that is. Is it one of the rivers in Lanel? Anyway, let us depart. Now, before we depart Lanel, there's actually something I want to show off real quick. I believe in the previous episode I mentioned about a cut side quest. This fella here, Captain Tor. Now, if you ever played Summoner and you come across this fella, you may have been baffled on what you're supposed to do with him. He's marked as important, but there's never anything you could do with the good sir here. The reason why is because he is part of the cut side the side quest that is cut from the game, which involved a palace servant poisoning someone or something. I forget how the side quest went. I might make a bonus video in the future and talk more in depth about that. But yeah, Captain Tor there. You cannot do anything with him. He's part of that cut side quest. So hopefully that should clear up any mysteries behind him. I believe I mentioned it in the previous episode, actually, about the side quest. Anyway, the Apothecary. We need a map to a Kamos swamp, sir. You could say that. Yes, we'll buy it. Only 10 gold. I wonder what happens if you don't have 10 gold. I mean, who doesn't have 10 gold at this point? Let's have a look at it. Very nice. Very stylish map. We'll put that in our pocket, shall we? Let's get some boots, shall we? I took my pair off because freaking reinforced boots. They really just don't look like they belong in Summoner. Maybe in other Volition titles they'd be more at home, but anyway, I'll take them. Tough boots, especially for Jakar. I'll take them too. Thank you very much, sir. Also, are you ever going to fix that? That can't be too good for your walls. Looking very stylish, Joseph. Very, very stylish. Here's your tough boots for a tough old man. Ah, Jakar. I hope our relations grow a little bit on this adventure. Because right now he is not very happy that he has to join us and aid us in our adventure. Well, hopefully he warms up to us. Anyway, we got a couple of side quests to finish off in Laona Monastery. So I'll meet you back there. It's a long journey. Well, back in Laona Monastery. So we've got to give the necklace to the sister. Yeah, I've already shown the necklace off, but I figured I'd show it off again. Also, the food. There's the food. Very nice. Looks very tasty. It'd be very good for dunking into soup. Anyway, we've got to give the necklace over, which belongs to their mother, and let them know that their brother is alive and well. Unfortunately, their paths may never cross, being of two different religious sects. Yeah, at least we made your life a little bit happier, knowing that your brother is still alive and well. It gives them a bit of peace of mind. Ooh, garnet. Very nice. That makes me very happy. That makes me very happy. A rare red gemstone of very good quality. In my books, it has infinite quality. The true gemstone of fire. Not like that other wannabe garnet gemstone. I shall not even mention its name. Oh. Anyway, let us see how the sister got on, the one that wished to return back to Mafarfi. I just had my moment there. Oh, about performance issues. I hope I can fix this. I think it's more of a system just getting it a bit hot. It's a bit hot. Because honestly, not much CPU is being taken, so...
I have gained new insight.
We barely spoke to the monk, Rosalind. You just speak, just talking to him gives you insight? Alright. Anyway, how did the sister get on returning back to Mafarfi? And Abbott apparently knows as well. A ring of proficiency, very nice. Also, Rosalind gained new insight, because of course she did. Nice work, Rosalind. Let's actually have a quick look of your stuff. Ooh, she gets ice spells. Most certainly. Very nice. She's perkier. Yeah, so the trader picked her up and is returning her back home to Mafafi, so that's nice to know. Apparently they let the abbot know as well. 10 AP, that's exactly the same as a Ring of Talent. Exactly identical. Huh. Well, having double AP boost would be nice. What'd that put her at? 64 AP, that's none too shabby. I'm actually going to give the Archer's Ring to Fliss. I'm thinking of making Fliss an archer. Yeah, none too shabby. Honestly, I think she'd get on good with archery. Decaying Bulwark, round shield, it's a little better. Why not? We're kitted up nicely. Let's have a little evaluation of our protections and stuff. Not bad. You'll be out the fight anyway, hopefully. 70, that'll definitely do, yeah. Looking very sharp, our party is. Anyway, let us depart back to Lynel. There's actually one more thing I want to show off before we continue our shenanigans. So I'll meet you back there. So now we're back in Lynel here. There's actually a bit of hidden dialogue from Prince Ornahan that you might not be incredibly familiar with. A while ago, you recall we stole a necklace of Prince Yon's. Fliss had a client that she needed to steal it for. Draco? I believe Drago his name was. Well, he's not here anymore. So let's see what the lady here has to say. Apparently... Well, at least she fears that he might be dead. Yes, apparently Mr. Draco, or Drago, whatever, what a fucking name to pronounce. He had this whole scheme. He found a boy that resembled the young Prince Yon, the one that died. And he was going to use him to blackmail the prince, Prince Ornahan. And he got this necklace that once belonged to the dead prince, just to make the scheme authentic as much as possible. Apparently going to force him to either give him a bunch of gold, or say to the people that he was killed by Prince Ornahan. Basically treat him as if he's like a ghost or something. It's a interesting scheme. It really is. But the lady here, Carcella, fears that it didn't go to plan. Yeah, get a bit more insight on the young Prince Yon as well. Bit of history here. I mean, it's a clever plan. She was right. He most certainly had a clever plan, but... Prince Ornahan is a very shady fella. Probably a very dangerous fella as well. Anyway, after getting that information from Carcella here, there's actually new dialogue, hidden dialogue from Prince Ornahan. So let's go back to... Oh, all those frame drops. I hope I can fix that soon. Anyway, let's go back to the palace and, well, have a bone to pick with him, shall we? I'll meet you back there. We're returning to the palace. Another thing is when you have spoken to Keys, the lantern maker, and learned about the gargoyle blood, there's also a bit more dialogue from the Master of Keys, too. Yeah, we can tell him about the 6 drowns we need. You resembling a gargoyle? No, you look more like an old dragon to me. Anyway. Yeah, just a little bit more of extra dialogue there. Completely unnecessary, you don't need to talk to him. You can also go back to the actors as well and let them know about needing the lanterns. But again, that's not necessary. It's not necessary to go back to the actors and give them the news. Anyway, what we're here for is Prince Ornhan, and who has also moved. Alright. A bit more dialogue. Yeah, now we can talk to him and ask him about Drago. What do you know about Drago, other than his name is a bit awkward to pronounce? Yes. So don't get any confirmation there, but it's implied that he might... Well, he may have silenced Drago. Anyway. I'll meet you back on the outskirts. I'm going to conclude the episode briefly. Or shortly, shall we say. Actually, I'll meet you back here. I may as well show off the extra dialogue from the actors. Why not? Again, completely unnecessary. You don't need to talk to him about the lanterns. Yeah, I'm sure you are rehearsing. I'll take your word for it, fella. Anyway, that'd be it for this episode. Definitely a lot of side activities to take care of first, so... we are set and ready to continue the story, however, at this point. You just need the Blade of Tarun and the map of Akamos beforehand, which we've got. Before we continue with the main quest line, however, and get the rings of summoning, I want to tackle some side activities. As I said, the random encounters have changed up since getting the Ring of Light, including a merchant. A merchant who will start appearing in the Grasslands encounter. Ooh! Frame drops. I think it is an overheating problem. Anyway, it is pretty hot in here. But yeah, a merchant has started spawning in the Grasslands encounter. And he sells some very exotic stuff. Some very, very pricey stuff. Very, very pricey. So we're going to have to be doing a lot of gold farming. And I'm going to actually show off my method of gold farming while I'm at it. There's also various other random encounters that have items to be found in them. So I might as well show those off too. So I'm going to dedicate the next episode all on the random encounters and... yeah, side activities, side content, so... Well, until then, let's hope you have a pleasant day. I hope you've enjoyed with what we've done today. Anyway, see you in the next, where we shall do a bunch of gold farming and some random encounters shenanigans. See you then, folks.